Cheers. Welcome to Culture Night,
where each week we drink fancy wine and watch movies that are in some way culturally significant. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Sarah, and we are back for Season 6, Episode 8. The end is almost near, but not yet.
I think we have, one more after this?
One more.
All right.
Plan right now. Eventually. We'll get there.
8/9 of the way through it. So, yeah, I don't think we have any podcast business or anything.
Nope.
We can hop right into what are we drinking this week?
This week we are drinking the 2019 James Gang Reserve Cabernet Franc.
Love a good Cab Franc.
Yes, we do. Especially 2019. Good year.
Yeah, it was the year our Cab Franc, a.k.a. our puppy named Frankie,
named after Cab Franc,
was born.
Does it surprise anyone that we, who have a podcast about wine, have a dog we named after wine and whose middle name is also Rosé? We're so
named
fun.
After two wines.
Oh, it's off to a strong start with the smell.
Kind of like a little spicy.
It's a little spice, but it's still a little like cherry.
I'm fighting allergies, so it's hard for me to smell too much right now.
Right. Which is hilarious considering the season started in September for us. It's a little alcohol forward, so I'm looking forward to letting it open up a little bit. But the after taste is really like smacky in the face kind of flavor.
I'm getting a little bit of cinnamon.
Some spices.
Spice like Christmassy, but not
like nutmeg and like that, that bundle of spices that make Christmas.
So interesting to be drinking it in May, but here we are. It's kind of our own fault. It probably would have lined up perfectly if we just continued the season through.
Put our heads down and made it work, but here we are. Oh, that's really good. Yeah, I think it's a little strong right now, but I think once it opens up and we get deeper into the bottle, it will be very nice.
So we'll give you guys our thoughts after the show or after the movie. So moving into that,
it's time to jump into our slept on segment. So last week we watched the movie Interstellar, and does your rating change after sleeping on it? You rated it a 6.2 and I rated it a 5.8.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. When I was typing out the outline, I was like, maybe no.
Yeah, I didn't really do too much sleeping on it or pondering. It kind of is a long enough movie anyways that it kind of already took up enough time in my brain. I'm sticking with the 6.2.
Yeah, and I think maybe it was higher, and maybe I touched on this in last week's episode, but I just feel like the fact that spoiler alert, the fact that he was still alive at the end just like kind of ruined it. It's like, okay, like so I've already kind of stretched my imagination in certain aspects, but like, okay.
Yeah, they did a really good job kind of weaving and tying everything back together, and then they add like an extra like 5 minutes, 10 minutes at the end that they could have cut it. Yeah.
But anyways, with that, let's jump into our fact snacks. And take a look at some behind the scenes fun facts to just enlighten us a little bit more about the movie. So my first fact snack is that Anne Hathaway almost got hypothermia filming the movie. I believe it was in when they were on the planet with all the water.
That makes sense.
Her suit wasn't zipped all the way, or so it had some kind of malfunction in it, so it started to fill with water. And apparently they didn't really give her much time to like reset there. As soon as she had like composed herself, they're like, okay, let's go again. Which I don't know. There was maybe some joking manner in that. It's hard to tell from an article, but they, some kind of malfunction there.
Yeah, I kind of wonder how they filmed that whole like water world. I assume they probably just kind of had like a stage. They flooded a little bit and then used like all CGI there. But
well, I will skip ahead to my last fact snack to cover that. Is that they actually used minimal green screens for this movie, and they did as much with practical effects as they could. Especially like there was not a ton of detail about like exactly what they used, but I do know that they built the whole ship. I mean, not like the one that you see the 3D version of, but the like, I don't know. There's a word that I'm looking for, but I can't.
Spaceship, space shuttle.
Yeah. Just they built the part of the space shuttle where they are all sitting and they do the launches with all the buttons and everything. The cockpit. There it is.
There it is.
Thank you. And I think they painted a lot of like background scenes and stuff to build that as much as they could, but they did try to avoid green screens as much as possible, which coming from a season where I feel like space is where it's the most noticeable when they are doing actual practical effects and when they are really CGIing it. I really appreciate that in 2014 they were still like, no, we're gonna do as much as we can.
Isn't it like just crazy how there's so many different looking places all over the world that we can just act like we're on all sorts of different planets and they look so radically different just because we're at different places on our same planet.
Having visited Iceland definitely feels like not Earth. That I'm certain there are tons of other places, the deserts, all that stuff, just completely otherworldly. All right, my next fact snack is that they had a consulting physicist on set for the movie, which I love, trying to make things as practical as possible. His name was Dr. Kip Thorne, and he actually the whole like theory about wormholes and black holes and everything is fairly accurate from what he can share from his scientific background. And he also had 2 rules for filming the movie, is that first, this is a direct quote, so I'm going to go ahead and read it. First, that nothing would violate established physical laws. So at one point they were talking about like light traveling faster than sound or, whatever. Couldn't do it unless it was actual like laws of physics. And then second was that all the wild speculations they were making would have to spring from science and not just from the mind of the screenwriter. So they had to be based on some kind of formula or theory already existing, which I really appreciate as an audience member, that they weren't just like, let's make a bunch of stuff up.
I feel like, I don't know if it was this movie or one of other ones within this same general time period where they actually like published a bunch of like papers based on,
it might be this one,
the science of it. Like it actually, the research they did for the movie, like they used some of the funding to kind of like actually do research on like what a black hole would look like and what these things might actually be.
Now that you're saying that, that's triggering something else from the article that I think that is this movie.
I love the whole like kind of relationship with like space sci-fi, especially like how it's kind of like art also like informs science, which then pushes it forward. Like it kind of it becomes this like cycle, where it's like what they dream up, then science eventually catches up to that, and what's the next thing. I just love all that. How movies have just that really awesome relationship with space science, especially.
And like you said, it's such a good way to get funding, since that's not always an easy thing to get. That if you can kind of work your theories into these movies and use the money you're getting to further that,
it's certainly not a waste of money.
Definitely. All right, my next note is that Christopher Nolan used The Right Stuff as reference for this movie, and quoting that it was like one of the best movies ever made or something along those lines. And he even organized a special screening for like the team behind the scenes on the movie, so that they knew like we're going for something like this, which I thought was really cool, kind of bringing everything
we're making a really long movie.
That, step 1, make it as long as you can. Step 2, space.
Yeah.
Sums it up.
I can't really think of any other ways they really had much overlap there. There was so much of the training and the advanced technology, and I feel like this movie just kind of quickly jumped forward to being like, oh, we discovered this hidden NASA camp out. Oh, also they have all this crazy technology now.
Yeah. I was kind of searching for similarities too, but I don't know. Maybe it was just in the like effects
the vibe
and how do you actually shoot the movie and all that behind the scenes stuff. I'm not sure, but it was apparently a reference for the movie. Spielberg was actually originally supposed to direct the movie, but because of it was owned, again, I didn't write down who it was. It was owned by one studio like Paramount, and then it was dropped for somebody else, or there was some kind of, behind the scenes drama. So it could have been directed by Steven Spielberg, but
interesting.
In the end, we got Christopher Nolan. And that is actually my last fact snack, because the last one was green screens. We've already talked about that. So just a little behind the scenes information for you.
Very
Get you more excited, more interested. If you want to look up more, by all means, go for it. If you learn anything fun, drop us a comment.
Sure. Sounds like a good deal for us.
Right.
All right. So I think that closes the chapter on Interstellar. So now let's hop into what are we watching tonight?
Tonight, we are watching The Martian from 2015, and it is rated PG-13.
All right. Let's hop into our time machine. Going back 10 whole years.
I was going to say, are we going to talk about how 2015 was already a decade ago?
Yeah. But also everything before 2020 seems like it was like 60 years ago.
It's also valid.
Let's see. The top 3 movies released that year were Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, grossing $742 million. Jurassic World, grossing $652 million, and Avengers Age of Ultron, grossing $459 million. It's really hard to kind of compete with some of the established IP there.
I mean, honestly, I was looking this up for the outline, and I was like, Star Wars, Jurassic, and I was like, am I looking at the right year for a second?
Yeah, what year is it? What decade is it? All the way down at 9th was The Martian, grossing $225 million. The top 3 songs released that year were Uptown Funk by Mark Ronson featuring Bruno Mars. Well, I think most people would just say it's by Bruno Mars. But Thinking Out Loud by Ed Sheeran, and See You Again by Wiz Khalifa featuring Charlie Puth.
Which I thought was a hilarious addition to that, because we were just watching an old SNL this week, and it happened to be one where Wiz Khalifa was performing that song.
And Wiz Khalifa doesn't look like what I expect Wiz Khalifa to look like. I don't know what I expected him to look like, but it was not that.
Yeah. I thought the same thing.
Yeah. I guess maybe I thought he would look a little more like Lil Wayne, but I don't know why I would think that.
Yeah. I was thinking more like Lil Wayne or T-Pain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something along those lines.
He's just a lot thinner than I thought.
Anyways.
Jinx. Hey, but that song still slaps. Having just heard it recently, it's still
For
great.
sure. Have you seen The Martian before?
Yes, some of those $225 million are ours because we saw it in theaters.
That was the first movie we saw together.
It was the first movie we saw together. So this one's very special. And we got to see it in one of those theaters with the like recliner seats, which was, I think that was one of the first times I'd been there, but it was.
That was the high life. That's how rich people watch movies. So I guess I don't really know what we need to go to and with how far we need to go into what we know about the movie, but I can say that it's one of our favorites, and I'm very, very excited to.
I also want to say that I'm not sure how many times that we have seen it, like because we saw it together, and I mean for days afterwards. I was still teaching at the time, and I just remember just being in the middle of teaching my students and being like, "Oh my god, that movie was insane!" Like just something that really stuck with me, and I feel like that was kind of one of the first times I really feel like a movie stuck with me for a long time afterwards. I guess because I had just been watching a lot of like cheesy rom-coms before that, but this one was just like, whoa. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I know we watched it like within the last 5 years.
We've definitely seen it again. I mean, it's a long movie, so it's not one you just kind of like just throw on randomly for a quick movie, but it is very good, and I'm excited to break it down with you after.
Yes, but I do have one more thing to say.
Okay.
I was like getting excited for tonight. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this movie. But then I remembered that Matt Damon's in it. Spoiler alert. And then after last week, I'm kind of like, ooh. Like his character was like so annoyingly bad last week that I'm like, oh man, now I gotta like cheer for him this week, which obviously like love this movie, but it was so funny how all of a sudden within a week it was like, nope, don't like you as a character anymore, especially because it's such a similar character.
And there's also what's her name?
Oh yeah, we talked about this. All that's coming to my mind is Anne Hathaway, so I cannot help you.
It's also got Jessica Chastain in it, so there would be quite the crossover from last week.
Yes.
So
yes, I just had to throw that in because I'm very excited to like see how I feel about him after the show. So anyways, with that, let's jump into The Martian.
Here we go. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. The Martian. I still have Interstellar stuck in my brain.
We say the title every time to remind us what movie we just watched.
That's really why we do it. It's really just to keep ourselves together. All right. So before we talk about The Martian,
let's jump into the wine scale.
Yes, I can't believe you took a sip before you gave your score.
Well, it's because I thought about it beforehand.
I did too.
So I'm not tainting myself with drinking our after show wine, which this week is not Black Box. It is a Chianti Classico from Monte Guelfo.
It is proven to be time and time again a delicious Chianti Classico that is very reasonably priced. So if you are looking for one,
however, it is noticeably not nearly as good as this Cab Franc from James King.
But before you tell us how much you loved it, why don't you describe it?
So the wine scale is 0 to 10 scale. However, the scale is heavily weighted given that all the wines we drink on the show are very good wines. So a low score does not necessarily mean that it is not a good wine, because all the wines we drink are very good. So that being said, I'm a little rusty on that one. That being said, I'm going to rate this wine I
thought it was locked in.
6.3.
7.8. I loved it. Last week's was good, but it got better the longer I drank it. It is my kind of wine.
It was good. It just didn't have any wow factor. It was like a solid, good wine, very delightful. No complaints about it. It just didn't have like the punch of the wow. It's just so much going on. Like
that's how I felt the whole time I was drinking. I was like, it's got some Christmas spice. Like it's just every sip is delicious.
It was like a kind of a one-hit wonder for me. Good, but yeah, that 6.3-ish range. So recommend it. It's very good. You're not gonna be disappointed.
Yes, 2019 James Gang Reserve Cab Franc from Tobin James. Yes. It's a solid choice. You can't go wrong.
Just remember, heavily weighted, so it's still a very good wine.
Yes. So if you're used to drinking like a black box, not that black box is terrible, but like just like a boxed or lower shelf wine, this is fantastic. This is like a 12 out of 10 on the black box scale.
Like you're gonna drink this and you're gonna be like, okay, I understand why wines are different. If you're one of those people who's just like all red wine is red wine.
That's false.
Yes, incorrect. Anyways, enough about the wine. Let's move into our movie rating out of 10.
Yes. This one is tougher. I did think about it ahead of time, and then I got nervous and I forgot. I'm going to rank this a 7.4.
I'm giving it an 8.4.
Oh, I was kind of like the wine. I was like, do I go higher or do I just like, I don't know. It going to your rubric of quotability. Nothing really jumps out to me as that. Like I can't remember a quote right now off the top of my head. Maybe if I'd watched it more often, I would have some, and I probably would if I watched it regularly. But right now, I've got nothing off the top of my head. Rewatchability. It is rewatchable. It's long, so it's hard to just like put on, but it is so good. I'm kind of mad we've only maybe seen this 3 times.
Yeah.
Great cast. Acting's great. Story's great. Cultural significance.
It's a newer one. It's hard to kind of judge too much.
I don't have a big thing on that, but I also just love this movie.
Yeah, I gave it a higher score. A lot, the overall enjoyability, the way that it's kind of like well put together and tells a really good, clear story. And I just love like the problem solving aspects of like the good NASA based movies. Just love how it's like, oh, new problem, solve it. How are we going to do it? And always coming up with creative solutions. Just love that aspect of it.
I think that's what we both love from the space telling stories. Anyways, like whether it's For All Mankind or for this, it's always like something goes wrong because something always goes wrong. I mean, how could it not? Space is giant.
I definitely hate more of the movies where like nothing goes wrong. They're in space and they're like, oh yeah, like these shards of metal could come flying from this other thing that exploded, and it's not a crazy stressful situation. Yeah.
But just like that, I think I even have a note about it. It's like team building. Like it's that team mentality of like, all right, we've got to completely rebuild X in this amount of time, go. Or like, we have to figure out this, math, go. Like and
like, that's impossible. Well, you got to figure it out.
Yeah. We need it in 70 days, or like I can do it in 70 days. Well, I need it in 20. Like that, all of that is just so fascinating to me. Stressful. I couldn't function under that, but I applaud the people that can.
Yeah. I think the quotability, like there are some that kind of stick out to me at the part where he's like, I'm a botanist, like, and it's a lot of like fun little quips there, not necessarily quotability, but I do enjoy the.
I think if we watched it more than once every 5 years, some of them would stick more in my head. But I just don't have that kind of memory recall that, and especially I forgot the whole like space pirate and Iron Man in space. Like I feel like they're
colonized Mars.
There are so many like little things that I think if we watched it more frequently might stick out in my head, but watching it once every 5 years is not. It's not like going to stick with me that much. Like, and I'm embarrassed to say how much I forgot about what happens in this movie because my memory is just really terrible.
Have you read the book?
No.
I am shocked you haven't. Miss, I read or listen to like 3 books a week.
Yes, I finished a whole book today. No, I finished technically 2 books. I finished the book I've been listening to all week, and then I listened to an entire other book.
Just saying, I think you should probably read this book.
I probably should, but I think I might need a couple of days to come down from the stress.
It might be better though, depending on the format of it. If it's kind of like a day-by-day journal, it might be better to kind of consume physically reading.
If I just had more time to like physically sit down and read, I miss having that time, and I hope to one day get that back. But it will definitely be read at some point.
Yes. But yeah, overall, I think a lot of the
it is a great movie. Don't let my 7.4
part comes with the overall enjoyability of it, as opposed to the other 3 that I generally. I mean, and I do like rewatching it. It's long, but it's not one that feels as long as others do.
Yes, it is. It is so good. I love it. I love the camaraderie amongst the cast.
We really had to force ourselves to be like, no, we don't want to finish it tonight because we don't.
He kept like pushing the remote to like see how far into it, and he'd be like, okay, after this scene, and then a couple of minutes would go by, and I was like, I'm not going to say anything because I want to watch more of it.
Yeah, Interstellar dragged, even though there's a lot of like fast cutting in Interstellar, it dragged on a lot more than this one did.
I just love this one. I thought about it all day. I'm like, oh my gosh, should I wait to finish it? I'm so excited. Like, oh, I just love it.
So next we'll move into the movie description.
Yep.
I'll do my best. Astronaut gets stranded on Mars after a freak storm comes in and the crew is forced to leave before they're able to find him, essentially. He is then forced to survive on Mars for over a year until a rescue mission is able to make it back to Mars to save him.
Very good. I think that sums it up. Well, whoop.
Easier than some others we've had for sure.
Yes. There is a very like clear A to B plot point there. All right. So here we go. Our description, according to the TV, is during a manned mission to Mars, astronaut Mark Watney is presumed dead after a fierce storm and left behind by his crew. But Watney has survived and finds himself stranded and alone on the hostile planet. With only meager supplies, he must draw upon his ingenuity, wit, and spirit to subsist and find a way to signal to Earth that he is alive.
subsist. Someone was really trying out a new vocabulary.
Right?
There.
I was like, I hope I'm saying that right. I'm having a hard time reading this, especially because it's like white on a gray background. So I was like really having to focus on what it said. Also, probably should get my new reading glasses that I just recently purchased. This is 30.
I think we must have said the same things.
I was going to say the first until it got to him subsisting. You were pretty spot on.
Yeah. Which by the way, I do not look at the actual movie description at all until after you said it.
Yes, I know you don't. And I don't look at it until I'm reading it. I line it up without focusing my eyes on the picture and take the picture so that I can read it, because it's hard to read our screen from the angle that we're at. But I do try not to read it until we're here.
It gives the maximum effect, especially for some of the super
stupid
wordy ones where they have to have like a descriptor before every actor on there or every character on there. Anyways, was the movie what you expected?
Yes.
Yeah, we've seen it before.
Loved it every time.
Yeah.
It's never been bad. Every time I've watched it, I've just walked away with this like, oh God, I love this movie so much.
Yeah, it's a great story, but even if you know the story already, it's the way they tell it also just really well done. How well did it age?
Well, story's fine. CGI, science seems to hold up. I think what I really love about this movie is that it is not like, it is obviously not based on true events, but it feels like it could be. It's not some like really out there, like interstellar, like wormholes and things, which I guess was technically sound science that we found out in our fact snacks. But it was just like, oh, we're going to Mars, mission failed. Like it was just it's so rooted in problems that have already loosely been experienced in space. And I just love it. And
they really didn't go too much.
It's not
happening
crazy
on Earth to be like, oh, we're going to have like any weird, like they didn't involve like the president or anyone else from any other countries. Really, it was just China that they included there briefly.
So briefly.
But they really kind of limited the characters on Earth. So it really kind of made it somewhat more timeless. So aged very well.
So good.
Effects still looked really good.
Could the movie be made today? Yes.
Yeah, I don't see why not. Did they say the title of the movie in the movie? I don't think they did.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think they said Martian.
I'm shocked that he didn't make any kind of Martian joke.
They probably said the a bunch, but I don't think we got Martian.
Yeah.
We got space pirate, we got colonist, colonizing, whatever, but not that. Does the title fit the movie?
It does. I mean, from he lived on Mars for over a year. He was a Martian for a year.
Yeah.
We are Virginians because we live here. Like
they could have named it like Mark Watney Space Pirate, but I don't think it would have been as.
Yeah, I do kind of feel like Space Pirate would have been really cool, but I like the whole like Mark Watney Space Pilot, but Space Pirate. But I mean, for being a like, I don't want to give too much away without giving too much away. Like
I think we both went into it very blind the first time we watched it. I knew nothing about it.
No clue.
I think I barely knew Matt Damon was in it.
I don't think I mean, generally I know almost nothing about movies ahead of time because I forget everything.
I'm surprised we weren't really big into going to movies too. Like when we first saw it,
the fact that this is such a like core part of our relationship is so funny to me.
Yeah. Anyways, I think that title fits the movie. Can't really give anything too much better there besides obviously Mark Watney Space Pirate. Does the rating fit the movie? And it was a PG-13.
I think so.
Yeah. Could you make the case that this is a Christmas movie? No, I don't think so. I mean, they mentioned Thanksgiving. It
would have been really fun. By mention, you mean it says save for Thanksgiving for their meal?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean.
No one says out loud Thanksgiving. It's just written on the...
Yeah.
Okay. I do kind of feel like it would have been interesting to see him celebrate Christmas or like actually like talk about some of those like holidays or things that he was missing. I guess he, having not had a family back home, there was no like, as much as the people on the ship that had families that they were talking to, I feel like it would have hit harder and he would have like tried to do more to celebrate it if he had a kids or a wife or something, but just being like his parents, I'm sure he was just like, well, I'm here doing stuff. I will say the whole like measuring it just like soul 18, soul whatever. I understand it and I like it in some respects, but there are other things where it's like, but I want to know, like he's been there for 7 months. He's been there for 18, like whatever. Like I would have liked more like standard time. Like we think about it just as far as understanding how long he's been there. Obviously they do a good job. There was one movie, I forget which one it was, where it was like, we didn't feel like we knew what was happening and what the timeline was. maybe it's Armageddon. I think it was Armageddon. They didn't track the
really
timing really well. They did a good job. But I knew a big chunk has passed since we last saw a date. I was able to keep up with it that way, but I kind of wanted a little bit more of a date, time, year, months for myself, just to get a better understanding.
Souls, are they referencing the number of days on Earth, or are they saying the number of Martian days? Are they my
exact questions? And so that's why I was I don't really know. I don't know how to judge these days. And so that was
something I should know, but I don't.
And maybe that will be a fact snack. So if you would like to stay tuned next week, I will look into the souls
and not days. And maybe that's just what they refer to days on Mars as for some reason. Soul obviously means sun, but I don't get it. Anyways, were there any actors that went on to do bigger things?
Nate the Great. This was way pre Ted Lasso.
Yeah, went to go into Ted Lasso, and also
Mackenzie Davis from Happiest Season. Mm-hmm. She was also in That Awkward Moment, which also was after this. No, before this.
I think it's before.
Yeah, that was before this. Yeah, also really core part of our dating relationship.
Otherwise, most of the people had been in something.
It was a big name cast. Donald Glover was Community was already out, right?
Yeah. Community was, I think, probably done by this point.
I don't know. I just swear, every time that the movie churned, it was more people. Kristen Wiig, totally, 100% would not have told you yesterday before we started this that she was in this. Didn't remember it at all.
I do want to cut to one of my notes. What was that? I love the number of comedy actors in this. I think this won an award for best comedy or something, which felt weird to me. I think it is technically considered a comedy.
Feel like I remember that, and it was a big deal because it's not a traditional comedy, and there are, like you said, funny moments.
It's not like Spaceballs for sure.
Yeah, no. And there are comedy actors, but I did love seeing Kristen Wiig in this. She wasn't being the caricature of herself that she always is. When you see her in her SNL characters, that I really appreciated her character. But I also feel because of her comedy, the way she's supposed to be that person kind of questioning everything they're doing, although she wasn't having that comedy persona on, it was still kind of but why are we doing this? And it was funny in its own respect, which I just really appreciated.
But we had Jeff Daniels from Dumb and Dumber. He's obviously in a whole lot more than that, but comedy actor. Wig, girl from Happiest Season, whose name
Mackenzie Davis.
Ever remember? Donald Glover, Nate the Great, and even Michael Pena did a lot more comedies I think earlier on in his career.
And I always feel he plays the comedic character. Wasn't he in Landman?
The first episode, yes.
But he was that similar, I'm gonna bring the jokes kind of guy, and I do love him.
But I think that's probably why this kind of veered also more towards comedy, just the number of comedic actors there, but they weren't going over the top slapstick comedy by any means.
Which I think it was an excellent balance of we're telling a really stressful story with some comedic moments. Anybody else go on to do bigger things? I think
the only ones that I had.
Everybody was kind of pre-established besides those ones that we've already talked about. Yep. So what impact do you think this movie had on pop culture?
I think it's a newer one. Obviously it's 10 years old now, so not super new, but I think it was more impacted by other movies than it had an impact itself. I don't know if there's any movies been made since then that kind of took on this same theme at all. But
it was great.
Do you feel culture after watching it?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of just from it has a lot of big name actors.
There was a big movie at the time. Won a bunch of awards, I think.
That I feel watching another movie in Matt Damon's career, you feel kind of cultured. Jeff Daniels, Kristen Wiig, these people are big name actors. So getting to watch a piece of their career and the fact that we saw it in theaters when it came out, it's oh yeah, we were there when it happens, just kind of absorbing that at the time. Do I feel extra cultured right now watching it? No, but at the time, yeah, I felt I was a part of it.
Yeah. It's always, you always kind of feel cultured in the moment of being oh, this is one of the movies up for best picture or best something, whatever. So sure. On to notes.
I think I went first last week because I hadn't seen Interstellar before and I wanted to talk first. So I will let you go first this time.
I will go first. My first note was that the suits make their faces look comically large, when they're showing them on Mars in the beginning and they're looking at the rocks before
they are very fitted.
I couldn't look away to be the reflection, I guess, of the globe effect just made their faces look really big, and it looked like it was probably bad CGI, but I think it was just actually the effect of the reflection.
I also the Mars suits. It's just weird to me that they would have different suits on Mars than the that he actually wore in the like when he was ejected out, that like I just like it makes sense. There's different atmospheres and all the things, and maybe the ones they had on Mars were a little bit lighter, so they were easier to like maneuver in. But it was just like, I want to be as protected as possible as someone who is very much on Earth and never ever going out into space. But I see them and I'm just like holding my breath. Like, are we sure? Are we sure that's airtight? Are we sure we're good?
Yeah, I thought it was weird at the end when he switched into the other suit, and I was like, but why is he like taking his suit off now? But I guess he was in a like pressurized compartment of that spaceship that he had been deconstructing, whatever. Then switched into a different one. But I did find that weird too. Yeah. But I guess it kind of makes sense, maybe. We don't have any people on Mars yet, so I can't really say for sure whether that's true or not. My next note was, I wonder if scenes like this, meaning the beginning scene where they had all the random storm coming in, the ship that almost tipped over, I wonder if any of those things will impact like the first manned Mars missions. It's a thing where we kind of talk about like where sci-fi kind of pushes movies forward, which pushes sci-fi forward, which pushes movies forward. And it kind of like is this cycle there that I wonder if there's something where like as they're planning the first manned Mars missions, they will
easy breezy.
They'll be like, oh, we have to make sure that as we're like landing here that we,
don't tip the
or have something that can fix this,
rocket.
or if it falls over, like how we're gonna get back up, like if it's one of those things that
send extra rations. I don't know.
Or do we have to like have like the Mark Watney protocol to be like, in case someone gets lost there, how do we send supplies quickly? Just interesting to think about the whole relationship with.
Yeah, it is really interesting. Having done a whole sci-fi season and almost done with our space season, it is so interesting to see how, especially when we go really back and watch movies from the 70s and like where we are now 50 years later, it's a wild jump forward in time.
It's like they kind of push the target forward and then science kind of catches up to what the movies say and vice versa. Anyways, my next note was all that money for that mission, and they're only planning to be there for like 30 days or so, and they only made it 18 days. Seems like a huge waste of money to spend all that time preparing for it, getting the technology there, actually
training them,
actually being there for like 100+ days of the trip out there, and they're there for like 18 days. That seems very short. You'd think they'd want to have them be there for like at least like, I don't know, like 6 months, a year.
Right? Yeah, it's just a wild space travel is wild. I mean, I feel like sometimes they like the Apollo 13, they were like, or one of them, they just like went up into space and came back down. Like, how much money do you spend to just like be up in space for like 15 minutes and then come back down? I don't know. It's just wild. Yeah. The way that all the space stuff works is just interesting to me.
We talked about the number of comedy actors in the movie. My next note was, I wonder if those Mars rover guys they showed very briefly when they were trying to communicate with the original Mars rover and back at
the 90s guys.
Yeah,
1997.
I'm wondering if any of those guys were actually engineers that like worked on that, because they didn't really have any talking parts in the movie. That I'm wondering if any of those guys were actually engineers that had worked in some way.
That would be super cool.
So I want to look into that.
Honestly, probably. The way that Hollywood works and that we found from all these science things, that would be really cool.
Yeah, I guess I have to think about what the timeline there, but I guess if it was in the 90s, and yeah, I mean, it could have been when this was filmed, could have been that. I just remember having like a placemat growing up where on the back of it had like a picture, like a drawing, I think, of the Mars rover on Mars. I always thought that was so cool, being like, oh man, it's crazy. I was like something on Mars today. And like every time they show that of the original rover in there, it just like gives me the nostalgia of that feeling back there of like looking at that. My next note was that supply mission.
The one that exploded?
Yeah. There were people on that, right? No people.
No.
Okay. I was going to say, it seems really dumb to risk a bunch of lives for the supply mission just for one person. It's like, okay, we had a whole spaceship and people blow up for one life.
No. It was just people. And so then they built a second one and sent it up. And that was what attached to the ship. It was the exact same thing.
Gotcha.
In a much more condensed timeline.
Gotcha. Okay. Makes me feel a little bit better that it wasn't a bunch of people that actually like exploded there and like, oh,
skip all the tests. Cool. Let's go. Everybody die.
Because they had like voices, whatever, talking about it on the radio there, and I thought you didn't hear them after it exploded. Then I was like, do we just watch a bunch of people trying to save one person die, and then we're like, okay, well, we're still gonna try to bring him home.
It does make you stop and think, like, is it worth it for one person?
all the money, time, effort to bring one person back. Like, what could all that money have done for people on Earth?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what a good movie does. It makes you think. There is no real right or wrong answer. It's just a like,
something like that
what would you do in that
then
position?
Build like the PR for NASA and those missions and like pushing space and technology forward. I think overall is a net benefit for everyone. Much more
100%.
long-term benefits for that. My next note was that this was not Jessica Chastain's best performance.
I don't really know of her that much, and I don't know if I would have known who she was if we hadn't seen her in Interstellar last week. Is she in other things?
Zero Dark 30, I believe.
I'm pretty certain I haven't seen that.
I just feel like she did not give a very good performance as like captain of this, especially like talking to the crew in those weird staged, we're like, here's the plan, we're going to do this and this.
I wouldn't say it was bad. I think Interstellar was better. Like I felt like she was a lot more believable in her role last week. It was almost like the character was acting as a commander of a ship. Mm-hmm. Not like she was acting like that. She was acting as a character who was acting, trying to pretend like she could. So it felt like she was just
like saying the words on the script and not really. There was no real like actual feeling or anything.
Yeah. It kind of came and went, but I agree it wasn't the best, most believable.
My next note was, how the hell did that plastic wrap and duct tape hold for over a year? Like when the
airlock blew.
Yeah, and all the plants died. He just has a bunch of plastic wrap and some duct tape, and it seems really sketchy. And it's like blowing and like sucking it in and out as the pressure changes.
And he's just totally chilled to not wear a suit.
Yeah. It's like blowing rocks and dirt everywhere. And he's like, yeah, I'm just going to be walking around without my suit with this plastic wrap holding in caulk and duct tape.
And especially when you would see the storm outside the window and he'd be like recording his videos or listening to the terrible disco music or eating hhis potatoes. Like, and I'm like, there's a storm and you have literal like tarp.
Yep. I would have been in my suit with my helmet on the entire time.
Yep.
You never know when you just like, flip on the air or whatever thing and just, yeah. Anyways, I'm just saying if I was on Mars,
I mean, you know me, my anxiety is already through the roof and I live on Earth. I would not function well there.
My last note was that they really missed an opportunity at the end when he is playing Iron Man, trying to fly himself over to the ship for the rendezvous, for them to have a really epic, like, but I get they had that, like, the suspense there with the music there, showing that, he kind of flies past and,
it did feel very artistic. Like when you're like, it kind of got me out of the moment a little bit. Cause I'm like, I feel like they're trying to be a little too cute with this, with the rope and they're spinning around each other. And I mean, it was like a little too cute for me. It was suspenseful until then all of a sudden I was like, okay, now I'm not in this anymore. Cause they're trying to almost do like a ballet dance or something.
Yeah. And it was kind of weird cause
it was also kind of building some like tension between them.
But he grabs like the ribbon cable, whatever.
Yeah, tether.
The tether. And he kind of wraps around a couple times. And then it's not until he's like all the way like made contact. They're like, we've got him. I feel like with him, I would have immediately just like wrapped like that thing around my arm like 20 times and be like, nope, no matter what, even if this thing's kind of tangled and takes a while for us to pull me in, like I'm not going anywhere. The
fact they waited so long to be like, okay, bring us in. I was like, now we're bringing us in? I mean, we've been like close enough where I'd be like, all right, start pulling this stuff in now. I think we're like close enough.
Right. Anyways, that was my last note.
All right. So let me jump into my notes. So my first note is it really just jumps into the story. I did not remember it just starting on Mars. I thought there was like a little bit of a like lead up. We're going to Mars. Like, I don't know.
I kind of liked that though. There wasn't a whole lot of exposition before that.
I wasn't sure at first. I was like, I don't know how I would have felt about this or how I feel about this. But then like, as we were into the story, it's like, okay, we're just like getting right to the point. We're not making it cute. We're not adding all this extra stuff. We're just like, we're already here. We're established. It is what it is. My next note is, I would have bled out when he has the, antenna or whatever is stuck in him. And then he has to pull it out and then like open up his own body and like pull it out and then staple himself together.
How did you know that shard was in him too? That was impressive.
I mean, I guess when he pulled it out, he probably saw that it was, I mean, I'm sure he knows what all the stuff that is up there with him looks like. And I would have bled out, not cut out for that. There are people that can't survive in space and cannot. And if you've watched this whole season and our sci-fi season, you know that I most certainly cannot. My next note is that I think I really appreciated the way of telling the story with the like video camera, like within the space station and the rover in a spacesuit, of it just being like he was always talking to somebody, but it was like a video diary. I guess also as people who are talking to cameras right now, like I know that life, and we record home movies and do all that stuff.
Obviously, I've not read the book, but I think it's kind of told in that way too, as a bunch of like little like journal entries, maybe.
Yeah, but I thought that was a really great way to tell this particular story of like, instead of just being him there by himself, it's like, oh, but like I can document all of this through this camera, and that it continues through the whole story. I just like really appreciated that way of storytelling. My next note is Kristen Wiig, ? Because I just completely forgot she was in this. Yeah. But I did at first I was like, I don't know. I mean, like, this is not her type of role. But then, like I've already talked about, I feel like she really did a great job. My next note is at least he had something to keep him busy. Like, it's not like he was just like sitting there waiting for someone to come and get him. It's like, okay, I've got to survive. Let me grow these plants. So I'm going to go outside and I'm going to bring all this dirt in. And then I'm going to do, like, he had always seemed to have something that he was like working on, or like finishing everybody else's research and doing all the stuff that I felt like that's what keeps you going.
Yeah. But it also, it was not a, like, I don't know, the timeline. A lot of it in the beginning is like, oh, can he repair this, whatever, where they shuttle, whatever space station thing they have on Mars. Can he repair that? Then can he like find food? Then, and all that happens in the first like 30 some days. And then it's like, oh, 100 days later. So like all the next jump you see was like 3 times as long as the initial one. And then it's like 400 days later.
The last one is like another 300 days later. That, I mean,
so he has something to keep himself busy, but it's not like it was stretched out over all that time.
I agree. But I mean, when I wrote this note, it was still very early on, but it was like, at least he's got, but I did make this note like relatively early on in the movie, but it was like, at least for me, I thrive on being busy in stressful situations, that it was like, okay, I've got to do this and then I've got to do this. Whereas if you're just like sitting around listening to her disco music and whatever else you have going on, I would appreciate having
slept a lot.
Oh yeah.
I did. I think the clip they had of him when he was going out to that, the launch site at the end, he talks about how he was the first person to ever go on this place, first person to ever do this. I think they could have used that clip earlier on in the movie to kind of talk about how he's keeping himself busy and just the sheer boredom. I know they showed him just sitting out there looking out at the Mars landscape, which I'm sure is absolutely just amazing to look at. The same way there's so many breathtaking sights on Earth, that could be kind of something to kind of push that forward of being like, oh, but he didn't really like have nothing. He wasn't sitting inside the space station just staring at a metal wall. He was actually out there like
taking it all in.
Mars.
Yeah, and it was also crazy, like the farther I got into the movie and he was like getting ready, preparing to go home, I was like, oh, but like, wouldn't you be kind of sad? Like, you spent all this time on freaking Mars and like, now you got to leave the hab and the rover and like all that stuff. Like, I almost felt sentimental for him that he would have to leave it. Obviously, totally fictional story, but like,
he did. He kind of like left a note about how much the rover meant to him, and he starts crying at the end.
I know, but I mean, just like I was so emotional. I was like, this is so stupid. Like, you're stuck on this planet and you just want to go home, but then you're like, oh, but I don't want to leave. Like, it's just such a weird dynamic the way our brains work. Like, so interesting. Okay, my next note is about team building. I've kind of already talked about it, but just that like problem solving and like, oh my gosh, time under pressure. I just very much appreciate that scenario in a movie, and that it happens like 8 different times in this movie of like, oh, this, nope, that went wrong. Okay, we got to do this. So nope. Okay, that doesn't work. All right, now we got to do this. Okay, that was going to work. And then, oh, now this is going to, like, I just loved that. Yeah.
It is interesting that like with the launch there, they had like hundreds of days that they didn't actually think through some of the failure scenarios of like, what if he doesn't get this launch, or what if this happens in this drag? I wonder if part of the slowdown of him not being able to reach that escape velocity or whatever velocity he needed once he escaped was because of that tarp kind of getting sucked down. Off. Yeah, and getting kind of basically acting as a parachute.
Or I'm sure it like the wind going straight through it, like, and then dispersing out the windows. I that was my thought too, was that it had something to do with the tarp. Okay, my next note is London, which is dumb because mostly because we went to London 6 months ago.
Trafalgar Square.
It was 6 months ago. Yeah. So
during this podcast season, we went to London.
in this podcast season, but also 6 months ago from the time we're recording this, we went to London. So seeing Trafalgar Square and Big Ben in the background, and I think like the Natural History Museum or whatever is right behind it. They were building Christmas markets in front of it. So that's what I associate with that situation.
When we were there, not in the movie.
Yes. So just seeing that was like really cool. Like, oh my gosh, we've actually stood right there.
If they were building Christmas markets during this, I would say it's definitely a Christmas movie. But
unfortunately, they weren't. So that was just like personal stuff. And I really didn't take a lot of notes in the second half of the movie. In fact, I wrote them all after the movie was over because I was just taking it all in, stress eating popcorn because it was very stressful. But we have talked a lot about the things that I was thinking about. My second to last note is ASCAN, the astronaut candidate program. So if
that's what it was. I was like, as he started talking about,
ASCANs.
I was like, I feel like there's a saying he's supposed to say at the beginning of this. Yes.
So if you've watched For All Mankind, I don't know if that's something they actually call astronaut candidates, but in For All Mankind, they call all of the astronauts candidates ASCANs. And it's this like whole joke. And so as soon as Mark Watney starts teaching the class, I was like, oh no.
Yeah, he should have definitely called him ASCANs.
Yeah, which made me giggle. And then I will say my last note is it just felt like an abrupt ending of like, oh, we got him. And then all of a sudden it's like all these years later and he's teaching the astronaut candidate thing. I really wanted like 2 minutes of him just like being back with everybody, even if it's just like a montage of him like debriefing of like, and then I did this, and you kind of like almost like relive the movie. And
or
just
then like showing him eating something besides a potato.
Yeah,
like him.
Yep. And adjusting, like taking like a shower, just like so much like that, or just like realizing like, oh my gosh, I have to talk to people, or I'm annoyed, but like, oh, I haven't been around people in a year and a half, but like, I'm really thankful. Just like some of that adjustment period. I think after watching him be alone for 400 and some days, like I want to see him adjust back.
But also they had blown the airlock. How much of that ship were they able to access afterwards?
My exact thought too. I was like, did we think about the long-term problems here?
Like a year of, or not a year, but several months of you just being stuck in the cockpit essentially.
Yeah, I don't know what it's limited to, because I mean we know they blew up the gym, which I would have personally been upset about, but
yeah, I
don't know. I wanted a little bit more of that, like traveling back to Earth, or even just like then them landing on Earth. I mean, I wanted like 5 more minutes. It didn't need to be like 30 minutes. I would have
preferred that than with the extra ending that we got of him being back on Earth with the astronaut candidate program. All
of that, like all of a sudden we're like all these years later, I was like, no. I want to see him, like you said, eating something other than potatoes. Like just all of those things.
I was afraid it was going to be like Interstellar, which just went on for far too long at the end, and you're like, no, just end it type thing. That I'm glad it didn't go on too long, but I think I would have preferred a different ending of it.
Different alternate ending. So that wraps up my notes. I had lots of thoughts on it. If I have any other things, I'll say them during our
if I were ending it, I would have shown that bit about him like adjusting whatever on there, and then maybe like somehow have a transition back to them like approaching Earth, and then being like, are you ready to go back like home? And him just kind of looking at it and maybe like shaking his head like no type thing of like
space is home.
Yeah. Or like, Mars was home type thing.
Yeah. I think that ending would have sat better with me afterwards. Like you said, I feel like some kind of montage of him, eating the food, getting back to normal life, sleeping in a bed, but also being like, and then the hab blew up and I woke up, and just like him like telling them the story and them all being like, oh my gosh, like I feel like all of that would have been so interesting.
Yeah, like
and then them giving him shit.
No, I'm saying I'm continuing my idea of the ending. Sorry, still stuck on that. Is like them saying like, are you ready to head back home or something like that, and him then look out into the distance and he sees Mars like kind of like behind them or whatever, and just
gives a little smile,
and then him be like, yep, like while looking at Mars type thing of showing that,
and they would have foreshadowed a sequel,
right? Come on, guys.
I love a good sequel foreshadow.
You could add a sequel, and they just right out the door.
Yep. I think we wrote a better ending.
Yeah.
Although I did love that I got to say ASCANs, like.
Yeah. 100%.
I prefer.
We should say it more. we will get rated PG-13. I think we've already made a case that we could write a whole bunch of great SNL skits on a lot of these podcasts. I think we've now made it clear that we are also great at writing better endings.
Yes.
We've made great cases in the past that we are better at writing titles of movies.
I was going to say titles for sure. Movie descriptions.
I just think we've been handing out all this for free. We need to start charging for some of these great ideas.
So visit us at our Patreon. Just kidding. We don't have a Patreon.
Yeah. So someday we're going to be the official consultants for Hollywood. We just need to keep growing our base. So if you could hit that like button if you're liking this and hit subscribe.
Rate and review wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah.
If you have any thoughts, comments, suggestions, you can email us at culturenightpod@gmail.com or leave us a comment on YouTube if you're watching us there, or on Instagram at culturenightpod on Instagram. And
if you work at a movie studio and you want some free consultation, or not free, maybe free, but also like to get something out of it, if that's okay too. If you work at NASA, just want to invite us there so we can like tour this.
We love a good space museum.
Mm-hmm. Or like seeing a space shuttle, or don't send us into space. I'm not ready for that.
Nope.
But
Nope. Don't send him into space. Don't send me into space.
Love to be there for some things and see more about space. But yeah.
Anyways,
I think it's about all we got.
And we will catch you next week with our season finale of our space season, episode 9. Catch you next week.
Cheers.
Cheers.